December 27, 1954. Eugene Register Guard, Eugene, Oregon. Basin Street facelifting recalls jazz orgy to Appease death. By Jack Gates of the United Press, New Orleans, UP. Steam shovels and trip hammers digging into Old Basin Street, where jazz was born, scraped up a memory of the city's weirdest jazz concert in history, a night-long offbeat orgy to appease death. The once plush houses of Sin along the famed street gave way in the 30s to a modern housing development, and this week, the street where such greats as Billy Bolden, Jelly Roll Morton, and Bunk Johnson gave jazz its biggest boost was getting a new lift. When the widening progress is completed, it will form a major link in the city's newest traffic artery. Although once known throughout the world as the home of jazz and sin, it will always be remembered here for the part it played in the strange attempt to pacify a jazz-loving, mysterious killer who used an axe to chop a bloody path of death from one side of the city to the other and create a reign of terror. On that night in March 1919, Basin Street joined with all of New Orleans to give out with the most jazz music ever played in this pleasure-loving city at one time. No one knows for sure the number of victims of the jazz-loving killer, but they reach into two figures. Scores of others were wounded by the nocturnal stalker whose trademarks were the axe and a chisel he used to gain entrance into locked homes. Even today, police can't say positively that the strange case is closed, although they believe the killer may now be dead. Others still contend he was a demon from the hottest hell and may revisit New Orleans. On the morning of May 23, 1918, Joseph Maggio, an Italian grocer, and his wife were found butchered in an apartment behind their store. Nothing in the room had been stolen. Valuable jewelry was lying on top of the dresser, and money was found under the bloody pillows. Detectives arrested several suspects, but they were released. A month later, grocer Louis Bessemer and his common-law wife were attacked in their rooms. Beside them lay an axe. A panel of the kitchen door had been cut out, as in the Maggio murders. The woman died. Bessemer recovered, but could throw no light on the intruder. Many neighborhoods organized guards who patrolled the areas at night. Male members of other families sat up all night with loaded guns. Still, the axeman struck, and people died. Some who were wounded reported they were awakened in time to see a dark, phantom-like form towering over them. Others described the killer as heavyset, but dressed in white with wings. Always an axe and chisel were found near the homes of the victims. Always he entered by chiseling a panel from the back door. In June 1919, the Times-Picayune, a New Orleans newspaper, received a letter with the dateline of hell. It started, "Esteemed mortal," and went on to say, in part, "They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman." The letter said the Axeman could be much worse if he wanted to, then added, "Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing." Most of the city that night tried to satisfy the killer's passion for jazz. Cafes over town were jammed, and friends and neighbors gathered in homes to jazz it up. Joseph Davila, New Orleans composer of popular music, wrote the theme song for the night. He called it "The Mysterious Axeman's Jazz" or "Don't Scare Me, Papa." Not a single attack occurred that night. But a few months later, the crazed killer struck again. Then he disappeared again, to reappear briefly in October for his final slaughter, in which 4 persons died. A year or so later, on the Pacific coast, a former Orleanian was shot to death by a woman later identified as the widow of an Axeman victim. Police tried to link the slain man with the Axeman. They found that the man had been sent to prison just after the first axe murder in 1911. In the summer of 1918, he was paroled just at the time the Axeman reappeared. After the final murder, it was learned the man left for the Pacific coast and a date with death. Police never linked him positively with the crime, but the Axeman has never returned. December 15, 1921, Berkeley Daily Gazette, Berkeley, California. LA Murder Solves Black Hand Mystery by United Press, New Orleans, December 15. The slaying in Los Angeles of Joseph Mumphrey, Italian blackhander, solves a New Orleans mafia mystery of 2 years ago, police here believe today. Mrs. Esther Albano, who has seen 2 husbands fall victims of the Black Hand, is credited with uncovering the trail of a vendetta leading from New Orleans across the continent to Los Angeles. The woman shot and killed Mumphrey, she said, because he threatened her with death, as he did Angelo Albano, her second husband, who has been mysteriously missing since October. She believes Mumphrey slew Albano. She also thinks he murdered Mike Pepitone, her first husband, who was slain while asleep by her side in October 1919.